Nikon, with its latest announcements of the Nikon D500 and the D5, the flagship camera, are both promoting the XQD memory card format. With the Nikon D500, you've got an XQD and an SD card slot, so you can have either or. And with the D5, there's two options here. You can either have two XQD slots or two compact flash slots. It doesn't seem to be one which is one or the other, or in between. Best way to describe it. On the Nikon rumors website, they're saying that actually at the moment the Nikon D5 is being advertised saying that the double memory card slot can be replaced with the alternative. So at the moment, when you're purchasing the Nikon D5, you are choosing the one which is either a double compact flash or a double XQD flash memory card system, and if you change your mind, or if your system requires a certain memory card, you can afterwards change the memory card slot. So that's quite good. However, a lot of people are wondering, like, what is XQD? Why bother with it? Why not just compact flash and all that kind of stuff? And what are the pros and drawbacks? So the main thing is XQD is the new memory card system, new memory card format. It's smaller than compact flash, with one here. So it's smaller than compact flash, but it's a little bit bigger than SD card. So SD card, nice and small, compact flash, a good bit bigger. And generally, for me, I don't see a problem with either of these. If I'm out in the field, I do like the bigger, solid feeling of a compact flash. It's easier to handle. But the big problem with compact flash is it's got lots of little holes. Lots of little holes for lots of little pins for you to potentially get bent whenever you're putting it in and out. I, so far, touch wood, have never bent a pin or had a compact flash card go wrong on me. I have had SD cards go wrong on me, but I think that was because they got wet and it was a bit of a nightmare. But generally, the SD card slot is just some metal bits that slide onto one another. Great, you're not bending any pins or anything like that. Compact flash, again, the biggest problem I've had with is shooting out near a beach or in sandy, salty areas and potentially getting grit in the actual holes of the compact flash. So that's been the biggest worry for me. So sometimes, even if I've been in a clean place, but there's just guff inside my bag, lint, fluff, that can get into the tiny little holes of this, and that can be a bit of a worry if you go to a shoot and you pull out your card and you can see the tiniest molecule of sand and dirt in there. You're like, because you can't blow it out. It's not like a Sega Mega Drive game cartridge. You can't go, oh yeah, that's a fix. You just kind of have to go tap, 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 and hope it falls out. So the new XQD card does away with these pins. The compact flash is actually a fairly old memory card system. It's I think it's about 16 years old, so it's done a good job. The future, I suspect, is going to be the XQD, which are a little bit bigger than this, but their architecture, that's the word that they like to use, the architecture inside creates the ability for it to be potentially a lot faster and have much more storage than even this, which, what I would say, the compact flash is astonishing. You can get 100 and, or maybe I'm sure there's a 250 gigabyte SD card compact flash. Same with the SD card. The amount of memory we're able to squeeze into these things is astonishing. But even better is the fact that I can get, what's this, 32 gigabytes on this tiny memory card. So that's a micro SD card which I use in my GoPro Hero 4. However, the problem with the micro SD is that it is fiddly and you have to have fingers like needles to be able to get it in and out and not lose it, and very easy to lose. So this XQD is the new one that's out. It's potentially going to have a faster read, faster write speeds. It has less chance of it getting bits wrong with it. And it's a form size which is a little bit smaller than this, a little bit bigger than this. And generally it's been advertised saying, hey, it's going to be totally the thing to use if you are a hardcore worker. The big problem with it at the moment is the price. The price, the availability, and the peripherals that you use with it. So at the moment, so if I go to Amazon, if I look for a 64 gigabyte compact flash card, we are getting £36, maybe £44 for 64 gigabytes. It's astonishing how much. Maybe £74 for an Extreme Pro. That's 160 megabytes a second. So this is huge amounts of speed that you're acquiring. Lots of camera companies and video companies and memory card companies get all confusion between megabytes and megabits. A lot of your video codecs will talk about it's a 50 megabits video footage. 50 megabits, you've got to divide that by 8 for it to be your megabytes. So there's 8 bits in a byte. So if it's saying, hey, it's a, I think the best one is, it's a 200 megabit a second video. You're like, holy crap, there's no memory card that can deal with that. That actually works out to just 25 megabytes per second. So it's actually pretty much every camera, every memory card can deal with pretty much most of the video workflow, even 4K, 30 frames a second, even 1080. 1080 at, what does this one do, 120 frames a second, can happily deal with the amount of information coming through. What you possibly need it for is if you're doing high megapixel, so you're talking about the new cameras, the Nikon D5, which is doing 10 frames a second, no, 12 frames a second, or the D500, which is doing 10 frames a second of a 20 megapixel image. So 10 times 20 megapixels, 200 megapixels per second of raw and uncompressed. That's a huge, obscene amounts of data that's going through. What at the moment, though, the problem is at the moment also additionally, is that the XQD is new, is brand new, and it's kind of the first generation coming out. So its top speeds just now, let's see, if I go to Amazon XQD 64, okay, we're getting pretty good. Yeah, that's actually 440 megabytes a second. But it is £168. So that's a little bit more expensive. Let's see, we go for this one for around about half the price, £96 for 64 gigabytes. Okay, we're getting a bit more realistic there. 210 megabytes a second. That is huge. Compare that to the, let's see, the most 160 to 210 is not a huge jump in price or difference there at the moment. The other problem is potentially, but that's just at the moment. So that's like the top. I'd say that's probably the top range, 160 megabytes a second, compact flash, and the kind of lowest, possibly the low range, XQD is a good 50% faster, I would say, around about that. But you've also got to look at the difference between write speed and read speed. In general, I think the other additional problem is that there's only a couple of cameras that actually deal with the XQD memory card format, which a lot of people are a bit nervous about. There's been many memory card formats that have come into, hey, we're using this memory card format, and then disappeared. Like, how many memory card, like, this memory card reader is a 27-in-1 memory card reader. You've got compact flash, micro drive, we use that. Smart media, XD, nobody uses that. Memory stick duo. M2, I have no idea what M2 is. There's so many kind of things that have just come along and then disappeared. And that's what a lot of people are a bit worried about the XQD. Oh, hey, it's new tech. Hey, it's potentially better. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to take off and be the kind of the standard format in the future. Because at the moment, the standard format are compact flash and really SD cards. And if it's not SD cards, it's micro SD cards, which you get an adapter, stick it into an SD card, and they're very, very handy with that. The potential benefits of XQD additionally are also, because it's a little bit smaller, potentially saving a tiny little bit of weight. So again, if you're something like a drone shooter and every gram counts, XQD is potentially going to be make your camera a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter than having to have a big chunky thing that can house and have all the pins for this, compared to something like a SD card is a little bit better, I would say. Do I think it's the future? I am starting to think that it might be, especially now that Nikon has got 4 cameras, the D4, D4S, D5, D500, 4 cameras. The problem is no other company has done anything yet. Sony, I think this is kind of created by Sony. This is Sony's idea, XQD. and I think Sony's only got it in a couple of their like mega broadcast cameras, like the big ones that you have on your shoulder. So I don't think Sony, although it's Sony's invention, they haven't quite managed to double check me on that one. It might not be Sony's invention, but that's what I read recently. And it's a little bit of a nervous thing at the moment. So personally, if it was me getting the Nikon D5, I would probably just go for the look. Compact flash is fast enough for me, unless you are somebody who is getting paid by a company to stand at the sideline of a racetrack, of a tennis game or something, and you are literally going brrr, 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 memory cards out, give it to your runners, new memory cards in, brrr, and you were trying to get like Wimbledon, the tennis player hitting the ball at exactly the right time. You are just literally machine gunning 20 megapixels every time, possibly with 2 cameras, and you're having to throw memory cards out. The potential additional speed that you get with XQD could be beneficial for not just you going brrr, but also for the runners who are having to get the memory card, the images off the memory cards and give it to the editors. If you are not one of those photographers, which is 99.99% of everyone else, I wouldn't worry about it too much at the moment. That getting high quality, high speed compact flash cards will easily do everything that you want to do. I think the current speed rates are somebody's showing that with a good compact flash you can get 65 frames before the buffer runs out. With XQD it's 77, so we're talking about 10 photos difference, or not even that. I think it's 72, so less than 10 photos difference, so if you are at the 60 to 80 photos range per burst and you're going, oh, I just can't deal with this, then yeah, definitely go for XQD. If you're not, possibly don't bother, and just stay with the functioning stuff you've got at the moment. I would say it probably, what they say is that there's usually a half-decade delay before it becomes mass market. The XQD came out in 2012. This is 2016. Okay, so yeah, I would say maybe next year, 2017. That's when I would say it would be safer to invest in XQD. Hopefully the price will massively drop, and hopefully there'll be some other cameras that you can at least exchange cameras with. So it's a bit annoying if you're a person that works multiple systems. The great thing is I can easily just go, I've got a compact flash or SD cards. I can go into pretty much any camera anywhere. I can go. The only one I can't do is I need a micro SD for my GoPro, but otherwise these two cover 99.999% of cameras everywhere. XQD, if you're a photographer like, hey, I've got XQD, oh no, my camera's died, I'll go get somebody else's camera, oh, it's compact flash. I sold all of those from a new camera, then you're a little bit screwed going on there. So it's something which I think if you're going to go for the XQD, you're going to have to make sure that you're prepared to get a bucket of XQD cards, because most photographers, pro photographers who are out there being shooting all the time, literally have buckets of compact flash cards. I have a tray which probably has about 15, 16 different cards. I've got some in my bag, some in my camera, some in my office. They're scattered all over the place. There's just things that have been built up over time that you just keep on buying new ones. Oh, there's a new one, cheap price. Ah, more gigabytes, super duper, I'll buy that. With XQD at the moment, still about 2 years, not ready yet. But I think in 2017, I'll be like, yeah, totally get the camera with the XQD in 2 years' time, definitely. But if your refresh rate of cameras and stuff like that is less than every 2 years, don't bother yet. That's my advice. Let me know what you think. Cheers, bye-bye.